Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about zero waste travel or low waste travel and sustainable travel. Now, I've gotten a few questions about reducing your plastic and reducing your carbon footprint when traveling, and I know these things can be very difficult. I still struggle with them, but I wanted to share some of my tips with you and some of my research to hopefully make it a little bit easier. So firstly, I'll just talk a little bit about certain products you can replace or things you can bring with you on a holiday to reduce your plastic waste. The two big categories here are mostly food and beauty, because these do create the most waste on a holiday. So some food items that you can actually bring with you or replace. I always bring some produce bags for when I'm shopping, so that I can just get some fresh produce in my own bag. If I have the room, I also bring a Tupperware or some type of container. A container is always handy to have if you want to have some takeaway or bring some leftovers home with you. Another type of container that I usually always bring with me is a water bottle or a coffee cup, or sometimes something that I can use for both. I always bring some cutlery with me as well, and I bring a tote bag, and that's something that I usually have with me at home as well. So when I go to school, I bring that as well. Recently, something I've added to that is a straw. Now, for example, when I want to get like a milkshake or a smoothie at a cafe, and I can't use my own cup, maybe I can still use my own straw. And yeah, that's a small thing to do, but it makes me happy, so I do that. Kind of in the food category as well, if you're traveling a long way, bring your own snacks. I usually do this anyway, especially on a plane. I have to eat gluten-free, and I do want to eat as much vegan as possible, so plain food is not really that easy for me. So it's just easier to bring my own meal. I always bring my plane ticket or any type of other ticket on my phone digitally instead of printing this off. So that's a way to save on ink and paper, and usually they recommend it anyway. Now, some beauty items you can bring. When I first started traveling with only a carry-on, I found it easier to bring a shampoo bar, a soap bar, and a conditioner bar with me, and tooth tabs instead of toothpaste, because then I could bring more liquids such as a perfume, and after sun, a sunscreen, things like that. Because you only have a very limited amount of liquids you can bring in a carry-on bag, and that habit kind of went on to my regular travels, and I always bring those with me now. If you don't have access to these types of products, you can just decant your soaps or shampoos into a smaller bottle instead of buying those little travel size items, because those do create a lot of plastic waste. I also happened to find a solid deodorant when I was traveling with a carry-on. That's actually a great zero waste tip. They give you the packaging and you just reuse it and then change the bar inside. That's the solid deodorant. You can also use a pumice stone or a scrub glove instead of a regular scrub, and then again, this is also reducing your liquids in your carry-on bag. So those are kind of just the products you can bring with you or change, but I think it's also important to talk about the different habits when you're on holiday. A few big topics that I want to talk about are creating waste and reducing your carbon footprint. Now, the biggest way to not create waste is to look at more sustainable options like shopping bulk, buying naked products and stuff like that, but sometimes it's unavoidable to create waste in some countries, and then I think it's just very important to properly get rid of that waste. Don't throw it out on the street. Make sure if you can recycle that you do, and I know this can be very difficult on a holiday, but just kind of do your best there. And another way to kind of combat that waste is that you can actually go plogging, as it's called. Just go pick up some trash on the street and kind of help out in that way. A big problem with flying or traveling is your carbon footprint. Now, planes are horrible. They exhaust a lot of carbon, and there's really nothing you can do about that. Even if you offset this by planting trees, yes, you're doing something great for the environment and you're giving back, but you're not fixing what you caused. The best way to reduce that is to choose to use a boat or a train or a car if you can. Short trips are actually the worst. Planes use the most fuel during takeoff and landing. So if you can avoid this for short distances, please do. The way I would do it and how I'm going to do it for the plane ride I just took is I'm going to calculate the amount of CO2 in kilograms that my plane exhausted and plan the amount of trees corresponding to that. Oftentimes these carbon offset websites say that for this amount of CO2 you have to plant 2 trees, but in reality it's actually much more. I will link some interesting articles about this in the description, but the best way to offset these is by supporting things like rainforest organizations, stuff like that. There's really no easy answer for this because once the CO2 is in the atmosphere, it's there. Another great way to reduce your carbon footprint once you're at your destination is actually to just choose public transport, bikes, or even walking instead of using a car. Now, on my last holiday, we actually didn't use a car besides going to the airport, and it was a carpool both times. And the rest of the vacation we just walked everywhere, and once we took a bus to see an island, and that's it. And usually you don't have to take a car wherever you are because especially for city trips the distances are so small. So that's a great tip I can give you as well. I think the most important thing to remember when you're traveling and you want to be more sustainable is the first thing in the pyramid of sustainability is reduce. Just try to reduce your plastic, try to reduce your carbon output, and you're pretty much good. You can only do as much as you can, really. I think it's important to remember that one person can do a lot, but there's also limitations. As I mentioned, doing something back for the local community, like picking some trash, is a great way to kind of balance your holiday. Another great way to do this is to support local businesses, especially vegetarian or vegan businesses, because then you're also reducing your carbon footprint by not eating any beef or any meat at all. That's what we did on our last holiday. I only ate vegetarian and we usually ate at local places, and I really love that kind of stuff. It also adds to your cultural experience and to your overall holiday experience, and I can only recommend going as local as you possibly can. I hope you enjoy these tips and that you actually find them useful. Some are more practical and some are more concepts to bear in mind when you're on holiday, but both are equally valuable in my opinion. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!